Going now for a quick pop-in, I take you to Robert Jeppostol, and he joins us from the Netherlands in Oslo. He, 29-year-old, barely survived the blast. It blew him back, but he wasn't injured. He was marching right towards it 200 feet away. And we've already covered most of the waterfront on this, though they're now calling to track conservatives that give money to charities. We can now be arrested just like the Muslims can for no reason. The shutdown of conservative websites. YouTube's added the link the week before to report things that, quote, promote terror. MSNBC saying Ron Paul and I promote terror and are violent in their Rise of the Right special. That's out in the news today. Killer personifies Rise of the New Right. Of course, the same Financial Times talks about how helpful terror attacks would be for the government. Going now to Robert. Robert, good to have you with us, sir. Break down the latest developments and your take on it.
Thank you, sir. It's good to be back. First of all, I have not yet told the listeners how sorry I feel for the families and their friends of the victims. My deepest condolences are extended to you who have lost loved ones. Today's news picture in Norway has been mostly the pre-trial or the jail hearing, where, well, I for one certainly hoped that they would have an open hearing. They didn't.
Well, that's a big issue, isn't it? That they read what he supposedly said and used a term used by the neocons and mainline conservatives, cultural Marxism, and that is what it is. That is going on. So now if you talk about cultural Marxism, why you must be a killer, and the fact that they wouldn't let him speak himself, does that not up the suspicion level here?
Sure. It's just getting stranger, and I also saw a report from a small town in France near Toulouse where his father lived, and they were vague about connections. They didn't have any. They didn't talk or see each other for several years. I mean, maybe we should investigate this some more, because his real connection, because it seems just bookish.
Yeah, let's talk about the Israel connection. There was a Palestinian youth group. The government of Norway was obviously calling for Palestine to be recognized. They were about to pull their planes out of Libya. Reportedly, there were all these Palestinian people at a rally at this island the day before. He was trying to kill the former prime minister, who's a big Palestinian supporter. That's now in the news today. This is the anniversary of the King David Hotel bombing. That was admittedly a bombing carried out by Israel against the British in Palestine pre-Israel. And it first tried to be blamed on the Arabs, but then that didn't work. So all of this going on. And it's funny, I didn't play the whole Michael Savage clip, but Michael Savage points out in that clip and others that we just played, you can just search Michael Savage, Obama Reichstag. He talks about, why does he say Rahm Emanuel will be involved in staged terror, Reichstag events, staged bombings or fires? He says because he's the son of the head of Irgun, who staged terror attacks and are leftist terrorist. I mean, that's Michael Savage, who, by the way, is Jewish himself, saying this. What's your view on the situation since you bring up Israel?
Well, I think Webster Topley may be correct when he says there's a connection with the Palestine issue, but in the aftermath of this happening, I guess people are just gathering around the Workers' Party and the AUF. The youths were training for becoming participants in the Workers' Party, which is by far the biggest party, and I guess they will only get more power and have more numbers to vote the way the globalists want them to, as a result of this. So I guess the Palestine issue is a side issue. It may be a trigger, but not the whole shebang.
Now, in a way, though, why would Israel, and we're certainly looking at that, we just went over the evidence, so that it's got, let me be clear, there's evidence pointing towards this being a false flag, provocateur event, and we've gone over that constellation of evidence. I, right now, cannot single out specifically what group would stand to gain other than just big government itself by invoking a clash between Islam and Christianity, which this guy's manifesto is calling for. That will undoubtedly trigger some real copycats to engage in their own attacks, so the government won't have to even manufacture them in some cases. This will also probably stimulate Muslims, or it's an attempt to stimulate Muslims in Europe to strike back, to invoke that clash of civilizations that the neocons and the Council on Foreign Relations talk about. And then the social engineers, the globalists, can sit back and play the two groups off against each other while taking everyone's rights in the name of refereeing the clash of the crusade and the jihad that is going on. So clearly that's the overall motive. Restrict guns in Norway, restrict guns in other areas of Europe, England, the United States. The calls are being made. Track conservatives, rebrand mainline political nationalism as connected to terrorism. But specifically with Israel, staging an attack against Norway because they're pro-Palestinian, that would actually then, when it comes out this guy was a big Israel supporter and very scared of Muslims, that in a way would actually discredit and demonize the pro-Israel people. So it's very sophisticated, but Tarpley says that doesn't matter, and I tend to agree with him. At an Operation Gladio level, it's a message to governments. I mean, the Prime Minister and the former Prime Minister almost got killed at the island. This is a major message to them. Hey, you better do what we're telling you or you're dead. But again, who would want to send that message? Go ahead.
Yeah, listen, sir. There's a lot of things, I think, from here domestically talking against that point. First of all, Stoltenberg, the Prime Minister now, he is, I guess, he has some Jewish ancestors. His name is Stoltenberg from I guess a predominant Jewish family from Poland a long time ago. His sister, also Stoltenberg, works for the People's Health, Folkehelseinstituttet, started by the Rockefeller Foundation.
Oh, he knows he's at Bilderberg. So you're saying the coalition parliament was about to be removed from power in the next election, polls showed. So you're saying it points towards, well, he is a Bilderberg group member, them staging this against themselves to discredit the rise of nationalists in Norway.
Yeah, I would guess. I mean, he works so closely with the Bill and Melinda Gates Fund, taking trips, pictures with them, subsidizing vaccines in Africa. I mean, it all seems so closely integrated.
So you disagree with Tarpley, then, that this was aimed as a threat towards the government?
Well, maybe the government in general, but not let's say the Norwegian establishment. No, I mean, also with Gro Harlem Brundtland, the former World Health Organization General Secretary. I mean, she just left the island. It all, it seems too much of a setup.
Exactly. Well, there's no doubt that they're attacking and demonizing nationalists, conservatives, folks that don't want wide open borders, welfare states. I mean, that's definitely going on. They're definitely using it. It's got all the signs of a staged event. What do you make of his Facebook being altered and the Masonic stuff being removed and the gay stuff being removed and being added Christian conservative when even his friends are saying he wasn't really a Christian conservative? What do you make of the fact that there's not a bigger hubbub over the fact that his Facebook was altered to frame conservatives and Christians?
The first I heard of this was, I have so much respect for Mr. Paul Joseph Watson and his article, and the first time I saw it was in his article. I thought I had just removed it, but they're throwing labels, they're just sending disinformation, just confusion about where he stands, where he comes from. So as you said, they're building a character. They're making this, fictional demon. It seems like obviously he's distorted, but there's something more, and they're making what that is.
Well, it's just like 9/11. The fact that you had not one but two passports going out of their clothes, out of the fireballs, out of the building, down to the ground, and then found undamaged later in the day and given to the FBI. I mean, if you'll buy that, folks, you'll buy that one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eaters are real, or that, Keebler elves are real. It is completely asinine. And evidence of the frame-up is evidence that it's an inside job. And the fact that his Facebook and a bunch of other stuff was doctored right after he was arrested, that the cops knew his name before the arrest and yelled it out at him. You add all this together, my friend, this is very, very suspicious. And the fact that they, the cherry on top, the coup de grace, what do they call it in French? The last straw is that they won't let him be seen on camera and speak for himself, and they read statements. Now you're Norwegian, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have incredible rights over there, truly a democratic society at many levels, and that prisoners have incredible rights, and that they never bar prisoners from speaking at their arraignment. Is that correct?
No, it's not entirely correct, because there's a paragraph that if the investigation would be compromised, then they can isolate them or bar the press or people from coming into the jail hearing. They can also, I guess, he's isolated for 4 weeks without letters and visits, and they can. Well, you have as a sort of how to get rid of people. I gather in America, assassinations is the preferred way of getting rid of unwanted elements. But in Norway, we have, and the author I talked about yesterday has written extensively about this. We have a very efficient system to take them into mental hospitals, and they disappear. And it won't be long, I think.
So you're saying it's more of the Soviet model, and he'll probably now disappear off into a mental institution, and that way we never find out who really did this. Well, we're going to check back in with you in the days to come. We're also going to open the phones up in the days to come for Norwegians. In fact, I should do that today after we go through these calls to be able to get on air with us and also give us their perspective and their view. But not letting him speak, keeping him sequestered, very, very suspicious, and only adds to the quandary. I want to thank you, Robert, for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Now, look, I know we've got Tommy, Dean, Brenda, Tanner, Aaron, and others, and I want to take a bunch of calls today. I also got Dr. Steve Pachenik coming up, and he'll want to roll with info, but I'm going to be jamming your calls in quickly as soon as he gets on with us. I'm going to get his take on this and then take your calls and get his comments. And then we got Dr. Tarpley joining us the last 30 minutes today. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.